Welcome to What's the Deal with Sam? Starring Sam Lilly. Join Sam as he discusses a wide variety of topics.
Bad
Now
Thank
let's
you.
start the show.
Thank you. What's the deal with controller support? It's like mouse and keyboard support with the ground. Yeah, another video game thing, whatever. Shut up, fuck you, let's go. We've got this whole controller support thing where, yeah, you're gonna have a bunch of people saying, like, why don't you use controller? PC Master Race. And they will make that noise. I don't know how to type that out, but they'll make that. They make that noise every time. I don't know why they do that. It's weird. I think it's like, something to do with being in a cult or something. That's why they have the PC Master Race chant. But I can't confirm. I'm not part of that cult if it is there. I'm not a fan of Kool-Aid, so why would I want to join, right? I'm not going to drink that. I don't know what's in there. I don't even really like Kool-Aid to begin with, much less Stranger Kool-Aid. Kool-Aid from Strangers is not one of my favorite, not in my top 10 drinks to drink when I want to drink a drink. And even so, if I wanted to, have something that was poisoned, I would probably find something better than that. Like, if there's poison in this brownie, and I'll be like, okay, that'll be a way to go, I guess. But Kool-Aid, watered down, it's basically like not very good juice that's been watered down. So, where you just pour water, you empty out a pixie stick into a bottle of water, and that's Kool-Aid. But this isn't about Kool-Aid, it's about controller support. You see, this is a thing that I think should be in damn near every game at this point. Video games are huge, and there's a lot of people playing them. A lot of people like to have all these different options. And yes, most console games have controller support because if they're like a handheld or something, the system is its controller. And for most consoles, it's just always been controllers. It has been. And the thing is, I'm mostly talking about for PC. And the reason for PC having controller support is that even if it's not necessarily the most optimal thing 100% for every single game, it's not like it's the most terrible, awful thing that will ruin the experience entirely for every game also. And I think it's ridiculous that we have to pretend like, you can't play a first-person shooter with a controller. You absolutely can. And maybe you don't think it's as good. That's your personal preference, but different people are good at different things. Different people are comfortable at different things. You don't need to necessarily be like, there shouldn't be that, just for that. Because PC is about options. PC is about options. People aren't saying you don't play a platformer without a controller. They're saying you can't use a keyboard and mouse for a platformer. It's like, well, if you like that, if you prefer that, go for it. No one's saying don't do that. I think a controller is better for that. Most people would probably agree with that, but I wouldn't say it's mandatory and you have to do it. I'm not saying don't have the option to use keyboard or mouse for that. And that's the point, is that there should be options. There should be the option to use a controller. Especially nowadays when there's so much blurring between the consoles and PC that a lot of people who are playing a lot of stuff on console want to play stuff on PC also, but they still want to use a controller because they're comfortable with it, because they're better with it, more skilled with it than they would be with the keyboard and mouse. And no matter how much you want to talk about the quality of the items themselves and how optimal they can be, it's all about the person using them and their enjoyment, their level of skill and comfort, all that shit. And I think it's weird that some games just don't have it. Like, some games I understand. Like, if you're an indie game and you don't have the controller support in there, everybody's going to have probably a keyboard and mouse on their computer by now. So if you're making an indie game with that, that's time and that's effort, and especially if you're a really small team or a single person, that's maybe not going to be your highest priority. Depending on the game, maybe it would be, maybe it wouldn't be. But a lot of indie games you kind of give a pass to because it's like, well, okay, they're a small team, they're working on it, maybe it'll be put in later, maybe that'll be part of a thing later, but they want to make sure the game itself works, fix the bugs, do all this major stuff with the basic game stuff, and then try to integrate something like that later, I suppose. There's maybe that, maybe with updates, having some added, I can understand. Or if it's a game where a controller just really won't work, as in, there's some games where it would be super awkward, like a point and click isn't real great with a controller, I would sort of understand. The option would be nice, but I would understand not having it. Or something like, that just takes too many buttons, then the more buttons than the controller could do, And so, if you have to have a lot of complex functions with that you couldn't actually really physically do with a controller, it might be better, if you don't have controller support, I'd understand with that a bit, I suppose. So I'm not saying this is a universal thing, just like I'm not saying that universally everything should have to have keyboard and mouse support, aside from the fact that, it's PC and that's what you're going to have as a baseline to have it. So that's a slight difference there, I suppose. But the option should be there because it's, it's PC gaming, and that's the whole point. Consoles are convenient. PC gives you options, and those are the biggest strengths of each of the choices you have there, essentially. And so when they take away that option, it's frustrating. And you can say that like, oh well, like you can just put your own controller support. You get like JoyToKey or whatever external mapping programs and put it in yourself. Yeah, sorta. Sometimes. Here's the thing with that. Not everything is going to work perfectly. You have to get an external program. You have to learn how to use that program and like program your shit onto it. And look up stuff on how to fucking do that kind of thing. And then you have to go and like fucking, for every game that has different controls, you have to look up the controls, try to put in a different little program for that and profile for that shit. Get that working every single time you want to play a fucking game that doesn't support your fucking controller. And also some stuff just kind of can't be mapped to that very effectively. Too many things for you to map to your controller, or like they want to map, like I don't know if there's a way to map your mouse movements very well. I don't know if there is a way to do that at all. There might be. I couldn't figure out how to do it with my controller, so I can't. Anything that makes me use a mouse is out. It's like there's a lot of limitations there, and there are some games where it is like almost not even excusable because there's shit where it's like the controls are like move and like jump and attacks, like NES style controls, and it's like, yeah, I can map that, but also why the fuck isn't that just in the game? If I'm some jackass who doesn't know shit about programming, goes and downloads a fucking program meant to map my controller to the game, I can figure out how to do that. Why can't somebody who's actually is designing a game and trying to sell this game, who supposedly knows how to program video games, why could they not just simply put that into there? Maybe it's a lot harder on their end somehow, but you also kind of have to weigh the idea of, should I bother to put in controller support here myself, or should I put all that work onto everyone who gets the game who wants to use a controller and multiply that, by however many people that is? In the long run, who's going to have to do more work, and is that going to reflect very well on the game and the experience? And it's absolutely unacceptable for like AAA stuff. They have like no fucking excuse for that. Like I said, for like, unless the game, like there's too many functions for a controller to even possibly do. But in AAA, they kind of know this shit. They have people who can figure out how to put that shit in there and put control support on games. It's just baffling that there's so many of them that still don't. I think one of the biggest things that really pissed me off was also one specific example was Diablo 3, which was also released, I believe, on like PS3 and maybe maybe 360 and other shit. I don't know. It was released on consoles, but it was also on PC. And you could use a controller on it, on the console, obviously, but on PC you couldn't. And I was like, why the fuck can't you? And it's like, well, the thing I looked up about it, when they were talking about that kind of issue, they were saying that, the games are designed differently. The PC version has more enemies in it, and it's more about using your spells and whatnot, where there are less enemies. In the console one, it's more about your movement, because of the way you naturally use these two different controlling devices. And you hear that and you're like, oh, I guess that makes sense. I mean, like, I can understand, it would be really easy on PC to use, or on PC if it had the same balance as the console one, or it would be too hard on console to use the PC one, but you could just change the fucking difficulty setting, up or down as needed. That's why they have those there. Then you could use both, and you could use both on PC then, and you could select the different difficulties, and it would be fine, and there would have been no problem. Just make it the same fucking thing, and then just give you more options because of it. But then you have to remember, oh yeah, these are the people that made the game in the fucking first place. These are the people who decided that they were going to make these two versions totally separate, like totally fucking different, like that, in order to, basically, just because they wanted to, I guess. They felt like it was a good idea, and I can understand where they were coming from, I guess. But at the same time, it's like, well, you could have just made it the same thing and made it give people more options, I guess. And maybe they want the extra challenge. Maybe they want it to be a bit easier. Maybe they want it to be different. Maybe they want those options for themselves and let them decide rather than having you cater, like, just basically force them to play a certain version to have it be this way or that way. That rubbed me the wrong way, and it's like, what the fuck, dude? So, I feel like more games need controller support. Obviously, not everyone needs it, but any game that could have controller support, and especially if it's like a AAA game, just put it in there. I don't care if you're on PC and people think, well, you're just going to use a mouse and keyboard anyway, whatever. Like, not everyone wants to do that, and I don't know. It's kind of about time that we realize that more and more the consoles and PC are similar. You know, you could, by the same token, make their keyboard and mouse adapters and shit, so you can play with those, on your consoles. You could do that too. It would take away some of the convenience of it, but that could be a thing. I'm not opposed to that being an option to have. But PC is where you go for options for everything else, for your mods, for all your different indie games and fan content, workshops, all that bullshit's all on PC. Why is it so hard to just do a really simple thing like having controller support be the option? I don't know. I feel like that should be a super common thing every game has. You should be able to rebind your keys. You should be able to change your screen resolutions, your settings. You should be able to choose if you want to use the controller. Easy. A lot of people use controllers. Tons of fucking people use controllers. Put it in there as an option for PC. Okay? It is okay to use a controller on PC. There's nothing wrong with it. So don't be a fuck ass about it. You dipshit cock cunt. Did I say no swears? I hit a quota. Are we allowed to say cock cunt? Is that... Am I have to, bleep that, or... No? Okay. My nobody and nothing over here is telling me it's okay. What's the deal with controller support? It's like keyboard mouse support with the ground.
What's the deal with Sam? What's the deal with Sam? What's the deal with Sam? What's the deal with Sam?
Excuse me, I just gotta turn off the camera now. No, it's fine. They didn't see you. You were off the frame. No one saw you. No one saw the nothing and no one that is you.